Now in this section, we'll be studying about diagnosis of Barrett's esophagus. What are the investigations that are vital to diagnose a patient of Barrett's esophagus? In this, we'll be studying about the endoscopy and biopsy. Endoscopy is the vital investigation for Barrett's esophagus, and what do we see through the endoscopic examination? And if we take a biopsy sample of the esophagus, what do we see in the sample? And then ultimately we'll study about the classification according to the segment of the Barrett's esophagus. If we study about Barrett's esophagus, if we do the endoscopic examination of a patient, the endoscopist has to fulfill two major criteria to ultimately diagnose that this is a Barrett's esophagus. The first criteria is that the endoscopist must see through the endoscope that the columnar epithelium lines the distal esophagus. The second thing that he should see is that he should locate the esophagogastric junction. Esophagogastric junction that I've mentioned before is the junction between the esophagus and where the stomach starts. That junction over there is called as esophagogastric junction. And then he has to determine the columnar epithelium extension above the esophagogastric junction. If the columnar epithelium is present above the esophagogastric junction, that can be ultimately diagnosed as Barrett's esophagus. As you can see, this is the normal esophagus through an endoscope. It is pale and glossy. And this is the picture of a Barrett's esophagus through the endoscope, which has a reddish color and which has a very velvety-like texture. The second criteria that an endoscopist must fulfill is the biopsy sample. The biopsy specimen of the columnar epithelium must show the evidence of metaplasia. Metaplasia, that a change from one adult cell type to another adult cell type. So you'd be asking, how do we actually take a biopsy sample? How do we take is that this is the endoscopic view that the endoscopist see. He inserts the endoscope, and there are these laser markings that are present within the Barrett's esophagus, where the Barrett's esophagus is present. And then there's a clip-like structure which is present at the tip of the endoscope, which helps in clipping a part of the abnormal esophagus, abnormal epithelium. And then this clipped part is taken out and then sent to the pathology lab to be seen under the microscope. There are two different types of histological types of epithelium. The first is the intestinal type epithelium with goblet cells. This means that the epithelium, the abnormal epithelium, has a more intestinal look with the presence of goblet cells. It has three different names. The first name is called as the intestinal metaplasia. The second name that can be given is the specialized intestinal metaplasia, and the third name is the specialized columnar epithelium. This is all specifically we're talking about the epithelium that has a more intestinal look. The second type of the histological type of epithelium is the gastric sqadia type epithelium, which is taken from the cardiac part of the stomach. It is mostly composed of mucus secreting cells and has a more malignant predisposition. So this type of epithelium is has a more similar view towards the stomach's epithelium. It has the presence of mucus secreting cells and it has a more malignant predisposition. So now if we classify Barrett's esophagus into segments, there's going to be a long segment and then there's a short segment. If we talk about long segment, the long segment is when the metaplastic epithelium extends at least 3 centimeters above the esophagogastric junction. That is that the Barrett's esophagus, this is the esophagogastric junction where the esophagus joins the stomach. So this esophagogastric junction, it has a Barrett's esophagus, which is almost 3 centimeters above it. As you can see that it is a long segment regarding to the distal part of the esophagus. And the second part is the short segment. The short segment is when there is less than 3 centimeter of metaplastic epithelium which lines the distal esophagus. This is a more common form of the classification regarding to Barrett's esophagus. This is the esophagogastric junction, and as you can see that it has a very small amount of Barrett's esophagus in the distal part of the esophagus. It's almost less than 3 centimeters. That's why it's called as a short segment according to this classification. And then there's a different type of classification which is called as Prague C and M criteria. You'd be wondering what the C and M stands for. It identifies as the circumferential, which is the C, and the maximum extent, which is the M. So in this picture, as you can see, this shows the circumferential extent of the metaplasia, which is as a whole throughout the esophagus in a circumference. And as you can see in this, we can measure the distance that it is around 3 centimeter. And if we talk about the maximal extent of the metaplasia, that how far has the metaplasia extended to, this is called as M. And as you can see in this scale, it is around 6 centimeter because it has extended almost up to 6 centimeter from the esophagogastric junction. So in this section, we have studied how to diagnose a patient with Barrett's esophagus. A patient with Barrett's esophagus is usually not diagnosed just like that. A patient comes in to the clinic with symptoms of gastroesophageal reflux disease, and when the doctor, he finally examines the patient, and then he ultimately sees that the patient is also suffering from Barrett's esophagus. We do an endoscopic examination, and then we take a sample, we take a biopsy sample from the esophagus, and then we send it to the pathology lab, and in that we can see that that metaplasia has occurred. Squamous cell of the esophagus is replaced with columnar epithelium. And in the end, we've studied about 2 different types of classification. How do we categorize esophagus according to segments, which is the long segment and the short segment. And then there's a very minor sort of classification, which is called as the Prague C and M, which stands for the circumferential extent and the metaplastic maximal extent of the metaplasia epithelial cells. That's all from this section. Please keep watching the other section regarding this topic. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.